Welcome to Every Horror Movie on Netflix, the show where we watch, review, and discuss every horror movie on Netflix. As always, I'm Chris, back with Patrick.
Hello.
And Steven.
Hi.
And we have a really special treat for you this week. We kind of left it a mystery what we were going to do this week, and that's because we have a very special guest lined up for today.
Very special.
Not very special like we always say. We're kind of the boy who cried wolf on that. An extremely special guest. We have an exclusive interview today. Patrick, who is coming on our show today?
Neville Archambault, the man behind Gerald, the villain of 13 Cameras, and now 14 Cameras, which is a movie that we didn't enjoy that much, but we did enjoy Neville's
interesting set
performance.
decoration, yeah, in that one, or lack thereof.
Oh, in 14 Cameras.
Yeah,
so we all watched 14 Cameras in preparation. You may remember we watched 13 Cameras long ago.
in the fucking dark ages of this podcast.
In the dark ages of the podcast.
Which was kind of why we were interested to interview Neville, you know? Like I don't know, he's continued to kind of captivate us a little bit.
He's haunted me.
He's endured for sure. And I had a nightmare about Gerald not that long ago.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How long are we talking?
Maybe 6 months ago.
Wait, what happened?
That's a long time.
I don't remember the details of the dream. I remember I was being pursued by Gerald like in a shopping mall.
Oh my god.
And he had the hammer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he really has lurked around in your mind.
So we didn't give 13 Cameras the most glowing review we've ever given a movie, but I think all love Gerald, and we're very intrigued by Gerald.
Fascinated.
And, I thought the premise had... I can't go to an Airbnb without thinking about hidden cameras. Can you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Actually.
You can?
Never been a concern of mine.
Well, I read an article about how there's hidden cameras in Airbnbs, and the law is powerless to do anything about it because there's no rule that says you can't put a camera in the
your private
bathroom of your own
property.
house.
of course.
And the laws haven't caught up to the difference between a house and a hotel and an Airbnb.
Oh, I hope they don't. I mean, I think if you have your private property, you should be able to put a camera on it. Especially if you're going to have strangers in there. If I turned my house into Airbnb, I'd be Gerald as fuck. I'd have a camera in every room.
I'm never using the bathroom at your apartment again. You're going to end up on the dark web. Which, that's the difference.
Yeah, I'm going to be selling your underwear.
That's the difference between 14 Cameras and 13 Cameras. In case you're wondering, if you're really curious about the movie, you can check it out on your own. But in 14 Cameras, Gerald has expanded. He's running basically Airbnbs. We can't say he's running Airbnbs, right? That's probably a legal issue. He's running a short-term rental.
What's it called again?
Vacay swap or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But he's got the camera wired. He's stalking a whole new family. Some characters from the first one reappear, which interested me, surprised me. I wasn't expecting this to be a franchise with a,
That's some spoilers.
continuity behind it. Could be. But so that's what we're dealing with here. And we're extremely pleased to welcome to our show, our podcast, Neville Archambault, also known as Gerald. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Every Horror Movie on Netflix, Neville.
That's great. Yeah, I'm really glad you guys are having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And excited, yeah.
So for starters, I'm curious, because I think you liked one of our posts on Instagram, or you followed us first, actually, because I didn't even realize you were on Instagram. How did you find us in the first place? Was it probably because we hashtag 13 cameras on something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and from there I found you guys and started to. Yeah, I realized you have a fan base out there pretty well. So I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You got a lot of viewers, so that's good.
Are you a horror fan yourself, Neville?
Really, honestly, no. Okay, I'll see you. No, I mean, sure. As a kid, Frankenstein and the werewolf and all. I have some things. Some more thriller, than anything. But as far as doing any, thriller, 13 Cameras really was it. But as pretty much as a kid, it was all the regular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've just been sort of fascinated by Gerald since we saw 13 Cameras. We were sort of picking like our ultimate horror movie villain team ups from the movies that we've seen so far. And I forget which one of you guys picked Gerald?
I think I did.
Yeah, you did, Steven. Yeah.
Yeah, so. I mean the we watch a lot of these movies and a lot of them don't stick in our head, and some of the plot details of 13 Cameras have been lost to us, but like Gerald is just such a presence in that movie. Like 13 and 14 Cameras, it's just built around that character and your performance, so it's really kind of outsized in our head.
Yeah, well, thank you, I appreciate that. He was really fun to do, and I feel like when I saw the script from the McManus brothers, Matt and Kevin McManus, I could feel Gerald and something from the slack jaw to whatever it was, but it sounds cliche like an actor saying, "Oh, I felt this and I felt that," but I really did with Gerald. It was just felt like he was somebody I don't want to say relate to, but could understand, because from maybe being lonely or to the way he saw Claire, or Claire in the movie was the wife,
right,
who was being pretty abused by her husband, and that Gerald, in his weird way, was going to, well, he wanted to take revenge on that, and I kind of see that, and I see that with people. So not that I agree, I could agree or feel like that's me, but I see that with people, how they respond to or react to situations, and so I don't know. He was an interesting character to do, and I felt him really deeply, and it was like when the camera went on, it was just I just sank right into it. So, and plus there was a part of me that I couldn't stand the husband.
Neither could we.
Right, because people like that, or people that are just horrible to their mates, and there was a part that was fun to play with. I just wanted to lash out at him. Granted, I did it with a hammer, but
so we were actually curious.
I did it softly. What's that?
We were curious about your motivation and kind of how you see Gerald, and it sounds like you're painting kind of a sympathetic picture of what might be going on in his head. So could you explain kind of more of that?
Well, I saw him as obviously somebody that was really troubled growing up, and as I was saying before, very lonely. And that's really where I drew it from. I also have a little bit of fascination with modern technology, and how this guy that is really, it's hard to tell what era or what time he's from, where he's from. I mean, he could be from the early 1900s, but his character, the way he presents himself, but the mix with the technology and everything, it was a strange mix.
Oh, yeah, so I was curious about that, because we don't learn a lot about Gerald or his backstory in the movie necessarily, and I was just wondering if there was any of that in the script, or if you talked about any of that with the director, or if that was all kind of work that you did on your own.
Yeah, it was really on my own when I auditioned. Actually, there's a piece online called "Finding the Monster," and Matt and Kevin McManus created this little piece about me and connected with the cast and everybody about pretty much about me. But they pretty much left it to me. When I first day on set, I just I had my script and I fell into it, and I think I kind of freaked them out a little bit because they felt me to be so real. And it was funny for me because I thought, well, I'm acting, but I kind of set a little bit of fire with people on the set because it was scary, and he was scary, and I pretty much just kind of managed it myself, and I pretty much took Gerald from the pages of the script and went with it. Mm-hmm. But I get a lot of interesting comments and a lot of interesting mail about him, because a lot of people associate with him in a way that they kind of feel what he's doing is good, which freaked me out in ways that they could relate to him, taking revenge. And I get a lot of mail from just about everybody that feels that kind of a kinship with him in that way, or that they understand, they understand him and why he does it, and women, and men being attracted to him in that sense, or feeling like he had done the right thing. And people say, I know I shouldn't say this, or I shouldn't feel this, but I think that Gerald, and to me, I got a good bit of mail, and looking at some of that is really bizarre to me.
That sounds a little bit like, women that would fawn over Ted Bundy and send him mail and go to the trials and stuff.
It is kind of like that, where they'd say, and some of the mail I get will be, they won't mention that, but they've got a little bit of a fascination with Gerald, and they like him for that. Or I'll get they don't, like I said, they don't necessarily go to it, but you can read between the lines that that's what they're seeing in him. That's it's really interesting and kind of scary. There's some mail that that getting it would shock me, or in someone around me or my family or somebody, I'd want to say or tell them, but it is just so bizarre that I just have to hold back.
So is that a new experience for you as an actor? I don't know what else you've done in your career, but I assume that this is probably one of the biggest exposed things that you've done, even though sometimes it feels like we're the only people watching every horror movie on Netflix. There's a lot of people out there.
Well, it's funny, you don't really see the numbers on Netflix, but as I see the numbers, because I get the mail, and I go, there's a lot of people seeing, 14 cameras. I was really surprised how many people just really liked it. I wasn't really sure about 14 cameras. In fact, I didn't even, I wouldn't see it. I didn't see it when it came out, and I held back for a while. And the reason I did is because I really liked 13 cameras, and I didn't want to spoil it in a sense. But when I saw the reaction through Netflix on 14, I was really taken back. Then I tuned in, to see what people were, because people really liked it. But the fan things, threw me off a bit. And something that was new to me, although used to dealing with people, but not on that level, or people putting me on a pedestal for my job, for what I did, and that's really nice. But like I was saying, there's a lot of confusion there with people to how they're seeing Gerald.
So when you get those messages from people, the ones that do sort of freak you out, do you respond to them? And if so, what do you say to those people?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes I feel with the mail that comes in, I feel responsible that I should respond to mail. And I do. In fact, at time it got to be really hard because there was a lot of mail coming in, and let's say you get 60 pieces or something a day, or messages, because it comes through. They go through your Facebook, or whatever way they could find you, or maybe they can Google me, because my Google's pretty extensive, so they can find me somewhere they'll find the email, and so I can get a lot of mail. But what was your question?
Just how you respond to those messages, the weird ones.
The weird ones, if they were really bizarre or overly sexual, I didn't, or I don't, or I'd get stuff from, provocative pictures, to from male and female, suggestive, and those ones I'd really have to look at and see if somebody was really, after a while, I was really starting to examine if somebody was really troubled. And that I felt a little bit responsible, because they're opening up to me and telling me things But if I didn't feel they were in danger to themselves, or they were, I wouldn't respond. There'd be some that would be playful in a way that I would respond.
Mm-hmm. That kind of reminds me of, the scene in 14 Cameras where Gerald is in his little online community, and then the chat turns, too spooky for Gerald.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. It's true. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about the sort of the backstory, like the emotional core that you developed for Gerald. There's such a physicality to the role too. Like, I'm looking at you, and you look like a very friendly guy. I can't even imagine that I'm looking at the guy who played Gerald. How did you? How did you develop some of those mannerisms? How did you justify them?
Again, the twins, so I call them the McManus brothers, are twins. And they had, in the script, they said, Gerald has a slack jaw. Mm-hmm. And I really, from that slack jaw, I went to town. For some reason, it spoke volumes to me.
Your whole body is slack almost.
When I go slack, it's just something that just takes me over that, and I just fall into that.
Mm-hmm. So the whole body follows the slack jaw.
Pretty much. I could feel. It was funny. I'd had I'd had some surgeries, but I wasn't walking. I used them too. In my gait, and that I wasn't walking like that because I was affected by anything. But I did have some pain, so I would kind of work in with that, and I would just sort of lumber along into it, and I would use it. I would associate a little bit with it and feel it and go with it. But I just felt it in so many ways. It's almost like I just got lost in myself when that in Gerald, and it'd be almost if I was just falling forward, because he did,
How did you get started in acting?
Well, as a kid, I'd had some stuff in, grade school and, kid stuff. And, I've never told the story, but when my father died when I was 10, and I was left with my mom, who was having difficulties in her life. And she was really troubled. And I ran away. And I ran away with my sister. And we went to a place called Ashland, Oregon. And so here we were on the road, and somehow got myself into a school system, and I found an ad for a place called the Oregon Shakespearean Festival, where it's also the Angus Bomer Theater. And it's a professional house with ads of professional actors and technicians, and really a prime house. I auditioned for a role, and I started working. And from there, that's really how I got into acting professionally. It was a bit of luck, and I kind of think of that audition to get into that house, something like with Gerald, but they're not in a creepy way. But it was just something that I felt in me, and it flew. And I auditioned for them, and I was with them for a good time, all the way through till I got out of high school. I'm really grateful for them, for that house, because they really changed my life. It saved me. And it was a job. And, I was just a really young teenager. So after that, when I got out of high school, I decided, well, I'm going to go to L.A. And which was a suggestion through a director of mine, Laird Williamson. And so I went to L.A. and started to do, I started casting some commercials and a little bits and pieces here and there, boom, and then I quit. And I found myself one day in Acapulco, Mexico, because I'd opened a gym and got into a whole different line of life. I walked away from the acting, and I was down there, and somebody I ran into knew me from when I was working in L.A., and they were doing a TV show down there called Acapulco Bay. And I got a bit role on it, and boom, I fell back into acting.
I was curious about your fitness thing, because one of the crazy, one of the biggest shocks watching these movies is that Gerald is a complete slob and lives in the dark and eats fast food, and then he takes off his shirt and he's like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, ripped. You're ripped.
It's funny. It's kind of in my somewhere back in my brain. I stored that idea of doing that, and that's not something that came from direction, or it didn't come from the McManus brother, or for name my director,
Victor, right?
Yeah, Victor.
Yeah,
Zarkov.
Victor Zarkov, and I stored that, like this idea, like no one had seen Gerald's physique except because he was covered, and so I knew when I read in the script, when it comes time, sure it was going to go. I actually asked, just said when I got in the bed, would prepare the scene, I'd be without a shirt, and so I'd sit up in the bed and I'd hold the shirt in my hand. So middle of the movie, everyone's seeing this guy's got a physique, because I'm playing an older guy, obviously, and who would have a physique like that? I get a lot of mail on that. A lot of people talk to me about that. And it's funny, actually, that has sprung a whole thing. And if you look on my Instagram, people write to me, how do I get in shape? How do I do this thing? So this whole other, like the end of the film, Gerald, maybe I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't.
No, you can.
People that haven't seen it.
You can spoil it.
Okay, yeah. He goes through the whole film,
Slack jaw.
But when he ends at the very end, and you remember when he's in the truck, and who appears next to him, and then he smiles, and no one had seen him smile. So that was for me. I knew that was a key to making the film really fly, because there was two different places I had a chance to swing things around, and I think I surprised the production doing that, because no one, I was dying to do that smile. So yeah.
So another thing that fascinated us, or definitely fascinated me about Gerald, is the fucking toothbrush thing. Was that in the script? Did you come up with that? Where did that come from?
No, that actually came from the writers, Kevin and Matt, and
they had you sticking the toothbrush in your mouth.
Pretty much, yeah. It was in the script.
Yeah,
and that he sees the toothbrush, and the toothbrush, goes in his mouth. But as time went on, and then of course in 14, I played on that, and of course how I looked at it, how I felt it, how I touched it, smelled it. So a lot of that I brought to the plate. The smelling, the touching.
Yeah, it's almost like a fetish.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't read it as a fetish. It seems like it's he's like he gets very curious and almost like infantile when he's dealing with these objects.
Yeah. Well, it's the other part of the, how, as I see him as a troubled, obviously troubled kid growing up, and he had just weird quirks, that he probably is one way for him to be close to, because he was probably so lonely that he had, like, of course, with, the smelling of clothes, and it was always in both films that it was, and I did see it like that. It was his childhood. And he was just, he needed some closeness. That's why he was at the end of 13. And I don't want to ruin it, but why he was so happy. We know why he was so happy, because he got his prize. And then again, loneliness, childhood. Yeah. So
to go back to your sort of history and your acting career, where were you at in your career when 13 cameras, when you were asked to audition for 13 cameras at that point? Were you acting a lot at that point, or were you doing other things?
No, so I'd been back to acting for a while, and I had come out of Mexico, and because I lived there a long time, once I got the show there, I stayed on, but I also figured out, I could share time between both places. So I would leave Acapulco, and I'd go to New York and I'd audition, and I sublet a little place. And so I kind of got this routine down, relationship with New York, and I started to book stuff. Or I'd get to the point where I was calling back a lot, and that to me always means it's just as good as being booked, because that means it's working whatever you're doing. And so I just kept doing that, and then I decided. Well, I was in New York when 9/11 happened, and I was actually downtown, and that's a whole other thing. But after some time, I started sharing time with LA because, well, I know LA, and anyhow, so I started to. I just started to get work. I started to book, but then I had some problems with my spine, and so I ended up having some surgeries, which was hell. But I was doing how I felt about my career at the time was actually pretty good. And once 13 Cameras came along, and I did that, and from the night that we premiered it, mail started coming in, and a lot of good things came my direct, from people. Of course, I saw the fan base, and then I'd get some offers. Although I wasn't real, I was real careful because I would see things, because I really love 13 Cameras, and I saw the things that would be offered to me would be from some productions that what I was seeing that they had done wasn't exactly what I hate to say that, but it was. I didn't want to really put myself out there on that, so I turned away some stuff, and then I did get slowed up by the surgeries a bit. At the same time, I kept on going and casting, and then I waited for 14. I knew that we would eventually do 14, and then that happened, and I started to. We have a film that'll be coming out. I don't have exact dates right now, but it's called The Block Island Sound. And here the twins, the McManus brothers, Matt and Kevin, they co-directed that. And so one thing after another. So now I'm doing another film, which is called Circle of Threes. It's with director Mark Bruner. It looks really good. I feel like I'm really actually. I've been watching the casting. It's a really slow casting. I've never seen film actually cast that slowly. But every time they bring a new actor to the plate, I can just feel it's such a good choice. So I'm really excited about it. When I first got it, I was like, okay. But now I'm really excited about it. Yeah, Circle of Threes. So they'll be starting to shoot in late summer.
Awesome.
So you said that you hadn't seen 14 Cameras until relatively recently.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, what was it like kind of coming back to that role? And then do you still prefer 13 Cameras over 14 now that you've seen them both?
Yeah. Well, I really love 13 Cameras for the fact that the decisions that Gerald made in 13 and how he kind of handled things himself, like when they brought in the idea on 14 of him, the dark web and all that coming to play. I just felt that in 13, it was so much better with Gerald, the way he was managing things, or it was much more simpler, and it was more, and like you said, you didn't actually get a feel of Gerald or his character always, but a bit I did in that. I just liked how he was handling himself. Where in 14, it got a little bit complicated.
Yeah, because you were saying that you really sympathized with Gerald and the motivations why he might be getting involved with the family and 13 Cameras.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I didn't like the fact you remember the underwear?
Yeah.
And if you remember. So the underwear, I felt like, he's getting in, it got a little muddy.
Yeah, he's doing things for commercial purposes.
Yeah, right. And I didn't see Gerald as doing that. And then some of the some of the violence that came, I think he would have regretted it more. So some of it didn't gel with Gerald's character. So what I would really hope is to go to, a second sequel and to relive Gerald as I see him in 13.
So what do you
That's
see?
what I'd like.
What do you see as Gerald's motivation? You know, you're talking about, you know, how these things don't necessarily seem true to the character. What is he in it for? Is he a sexual pervert? Does he just enjoy having control over people? Is he in it for money? What do you think what is he in it for?
I don't think it's money. Although obviously somewhere along the line he's made some money because he's bought the rentals and he's got something going. But I see it as, again, back to loneliness. You know, so in 14, who do we see grow up in that film? You know, and so there's what he wants. He wants a family, and he keeps Claire for all that time. You know, he kept her. So I think it's I can't remember. Oh, it's got to be 13 years. So he would have kept her. You know.
Yeah, I noticed there was a time gap, obviously, because you see the baby is now a kid. I couldn't tell quite how old he was, but it makes sense for titling purposes that it would be 13 years.
Yeah, so he wants a family, you know, and then he also when he kidnaps the other girl played by Chelsea Edmondson, he wants Claire to have a friend. So his intentions are, in his mind, good.
Yeah,
he got Claire away from her husband, and who was played by P.G. McCabe, and that's what he wanted. He wanted to form a family for himself, and he basically has.
So when you mentioned before, your own childhood and what happened with that, do you think that had anything to do with the part of Gerald that you related to, that desire to find a family?
Well, I actually, luckily, I was able to, with my family, we were able to, as the time got away, we regrouped, because we were brothers and sisters, and but there was a scattering point, in my childhood, and basically being on the a runaway from my mother was that went on for a while. But I had a family, but with I think just with Gerald, it's just something that I can relate to, in the or to why he does what he does, or he did, and I'd like to see him do more of it.
Yeah, so tell us what you know about 15 cameras or 14 more cameras or whatever it's going to be called.
We don't know if it'll actually be a reality. I mean, there's just there's a lot of talk about it, and there's a lot. Like I said, I probably hear more about it because I get a whole bunch of mail, and there is the idea that there could be, or it will would happen. I can't say for sure that 15 would happen. But I feel like it will. I can't imagine it not with, and I could be wrong, as much as a reaction that came out of 14. Strong reaction came out of 13, but overall, and I think it was because on Netflix, the reaction for 14 was so strong. You just can't imagine not doing a 15 and holding all those people hostages, because so many people, I get people who will write me and say, please, we want to see, just like begging you for a 15, which is great. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, a big surprise for me watching 14 cameras was how much, because we've watched a lot of low budget horror films and their sequels, and it was shocking to me how much the mythology kind of expanded, where you had the characters returning from the first film and the little kids grown up now, and all, Gerald has all these other facets of what he's doing. Now he's in Mexico, so let's put Gerald in Mexico,
which to me just really puts a fire under me to want to do a 15, because I actually have so many ideas. And of course, because having lived in Mexico, and I've had a strong relationship with Mexico pretty much all my life, so I really would like to do that. And I have some, I know if it comes to the plate that it's going to happen, I'm going to be hard to shut up, because I've got a lot of thoughts and things I'd like to see done in that.
Can you share any of those with us?
Well, one of my, I'd like to see Gerald carry what he has, meaning as far as his the level of interest or excitement or being scary. But I like the fact of him helping and to being kind of a hero. And that's how some of my mail came too. When I get mail, people see him as a bit of a hero. And I'd like and hope to play on that more to where actually we could go even further and do, more of the adventures of Gerald.
Maybe he'll join the Avengers.
Yeah. I like to see him help kids, or something. I don't know. Maybe that's too but yeah, I have a lot of thoughts, and but the people wanting to see 15 is really strong, and I feel like it's the subject at times because the group that I've worked with, it's really some talented people. So a lot of stuff has happened since, and there's some like the McManus brothers were up for an Emmy for a TV series that they did, American Vandals.
Yeah, American Vandal on Netflix.
Yes, and they did that. So everybody's busy. So, and they're always doing something, and it's one better than the next. So I feel like the camera series kind of can be pushed aside a little bit, and I don't want to talk about it. They do, but they don't.
Are you personally creeped out by the idea of voyeurism, and if you check into a hotel room or Airbnb or what have you?
Well, I sure opened up my own eyes, and because I'll be on the computer at night and I'll sit there and be looking at that the camera and thinking, shoot, and then I start to think of how things, how well we feel the camera or the computer picks up what we're doing or saying or thinking or what products we want, which just feels true. But I think because of playing the character, somebody may be spying on me because people have taken real interest in Gerald, and so. On a personal level, yeah, I think, gosh, wonder, because it was with the way things are with the technology, like people will call me, somehow they get in touch, and I know that it's through the computer, and it all comes from 13 cameras. So I feel I'm a little bit stalked a little bit on that, with some people, and that's creepy. So, and then I've gotten. I'll get the threats. I get a lot of threats from people that say that I shouldn't do or we shouldn't do films like that because we give people ideas. But the people that are saying that or sending that mail are the ones they're even creepier. I mean, some of it's just from how they come, their stance on it. They just come off. I had somebody that writes to me and tells me that I'd like to. If I see you, and talk to me as if I'm Gerald. That one's, that's happens quite a bit. Or tell me, if I see you, I'd smash you in the face. Or
Wow.
You get a lot of that.
Huh.
There's time. As a recent it's funny with the mail because it'll be see some, it'll be real strong and a lot of mail coming, and then it'll get quiet, and I'm not really sure how that works, but
it's the algorithm. It's the Netflix. It's the algorithm. The Netflix algorithm.
Yeah, it is. So that gets a little creepy. I don't. It's not like I fear it, but there's some pretty strong language used.
Yeah.
So, which is
So, is there anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
Gosh, it seems like we covered a lot. How long have you guys been doing your show?
Year and a half?
Coming up on 2 years. 2 years in the fall.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And usually it's just us sitting around, shooting the shit, talking about the movie of the week. So it's really fun for us to actually have, someone like yourself who's in one of the movies on the podcast and get to chat with you and hear about your experience.
Someone to actually add value to our show rather than just, listen to these three guys say what they think about a movie.
Okay. All right. I'm surprised you wouldn't have more people wanting to open up and talk about the?
Well, we have done one other interview. Do you want to say who that was?
Oh yeah,
Chris?
that was pretty impromptu. We interviewed Dee Wallace, you know her from E.T.
Oh yeah, I
and
was in a
Cujo.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I was in a movie with her.
Were you? What movie?
I was in a movie called. This is just after when I got back into New York, she did a movie called. I was in it. I played a cop, not just a small role, but it was called Dead Canaries. And I always do this. It's like there will be some big star in it, and I'll go. And what's his name? I can't remember his name, but I remember Dee's name. Yeah.
Well, Neville Archambault, also known as Gerald, thanks so much for joining us. It was a pleasure talking to you.
That was awesome.
Okay,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
The people who play the most deranged killers are often the nicest people in real life.
I'll surprise you.
Yeah.
It's been a
Thanks,
real
guys.
treat.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neville.
See you later. All right, so Gerald, what a man.
Gerald.
What a human.
His given Christian name, Gerald. Neville.
We've played Gerald's game today on every horror movie on Netflix. Nice guy.
And I liked it. I think we won.
You know, it's
I mean, we won, Neville won, the listeners won. We all win.
Whoever
Gerald's
wins,
game.
you lose.
I was really fascinated. You know, I mean, we've sort of, or I don't know, maybe I keep projecting this on you guys, but I certainly have to some degree obsessed over Gerald since we saw that movie. Like, he keeps coming up in conversation.
He's in my circ, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, Gerald is kind of the closest thing we have to I know that these movies aren't Netflix exclusive movies. They've had their festival runs and their VOD runs or whatever. But he's the closest thing we have to like a Netflix exclusive horror icon.
What about Art the Clown?
So far, other than Art the Clown and of course Jay. And also because like we did 13 cameras super early on, and that was the time I was launching the website and the Facebook page and everything. So like there's like our About Us on our Facebook page is a picture of Gerald watching all the screens.
Oh yeah, which is so appropriate.
It's so appropriate because that's how I spend my life.
Yeah, he was one of the things I appreciated, maybe the only thing I appreciated about the original 13 cameras. And I appreciate him so much more now that I know like the amount of thought that went into the performance, and also just kind of seeing and speaking to him in real life and how different he is from the character, which may seem like sort of a naive observation to make, but still I was like, wow, you made an impressive transformation here.
Yeah, and it's good
without makeup, it was all him,
It's good to remember that there's, people like that behind these movies, even if we don't like the movies, even if, I thought 13 Cameras was kind of antisocial, right? But it was coming from a very human place, and so it behooves us to keep that in mind.
So keeping that in mind, what's the next movie we're going to watch that we may not like?
Next, we are actually spinning the Wheel of Death.
Yay.
2 treats in one episode. How about that?
Oh, man, I'm going to have a fucking sugar coma after
I'm
this
going to
one.
have a cavity.
So, who won? Patrick won last time, right? But you deferred it to me, I believe?
Oh, was that last time?
I think that was last time.
Wow.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
So I'll pretend I won, and I'll give it its next spin, and we'll see who picks the next movie.
All right, give it a good tug.
All right. Here we go.
Oh, it's Chris again.
Oh, it's me again. That's the first time the wheel has ever landed on me en natural. And
would you put your clothes back on, please?
I can't be more excited.
I can see
We
that.
can see that.
All right, tell you what, guys. We are going to watch The Perfection.
Oh, okay. That was
Cool.
sort of
I've
on
already
my
watched
list,
it.
too. Yeah, I've already watched it, too.
Well, I haven't, and I've really been meaning to, and I know nothing about it, and it came out, semi-recently, as in like 2 months ago. But
Dude, this is great. I can go on vacation. I don't have to worry about it.
yeah. So
Personally, I'm stoked. I want to rewatch this.
I've
I've been
heard-
bugging you to watch
Yeah,
it
I've
as
heard
well.
nothing
Would
but
you
good
view
things.
it, cue it, or screw it, Patrick?
No spoilers. I've really been looking forward to checking it out. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I don't know anything that's about it. I know that the trailer autoplayed, but I had run to the bathroom, and so I just heard like screams and stuff and shrill tones, and it sounded great. I have no idea what it's about, but
I'm surprised that wasn't too many spoilers for you.
It was, but I was in the bathroom. What am I going to do?
Just another visit to the bathroom as screams echo in the background at your apartment.
It happens all the time. All right, so join us next time for The Perfection. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Neville, and you know where to find us online. Send us all your deranged thoughts and your nude pictures.
Definitely your nudes.
Whatever else deranged things in your mind. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know the deal. Leave us an iTunes review.
And also go follow Neville as well. He's at Archambault Neville on Instagram, and that's spelled Archambault Neville, just like Longbottom or Aaron Neville or whatever Neville strikes your fantasy.
If you don't know how to spell it, you can look up 13 Cameras on IMDb. That's his name.
Yeah, and he's also on Facebook. Go follow the guy. Good dude.
Great dude. A perfect man.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's it for us this week. For every horror movie on Netflix, I'm Chris.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Steven.
See you later.